pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started with tonight's meeting, I'm sure some of you are aware, if not all of you, that the Ball-Chatham School District has recently lost 2 of its students. And I'd like to take a moment of silence to recognize Trent Barnard and Joey Sondhaus. Thank you.
No, don't close the door.
Okay. Approval of tonight's agenda. Need a motion to approve tonight's agenda, please.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda has been approved. 3.2, items from closed session. Approved closed session minutes from 1-22. I need a motion to approve the closed session minutes from 1:22.
So moved. Motion. Second.
Ashley?
Phipps.
Yes.
Rush.
Yes.
Maddox.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Worley. Yes. Bryant.
Yes.
Brewer.
Yes. Section 4.1, communications. Tonight, opportunity to address the board concerning any agenda topic item. There will be a time later for any topic, but right now it's any agenda topic item. Okay, 4.2, special education annual report.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Maggie Caldwell. I'm going to give you the special education annual report. The first okay, all right, great. So the next slide. First thing I'm going to talk about is the special education services is regulated by state and federal mandates. So IDA grant funding, we are provided the IDA grant federally every year, and I monitor and manage how that grant is spent throughout the special education department. The next is the local maintenance of effort. So we are obligated to spend a specific amount of money locally, and then we are supplementing that with our grant, IDA grant. Provision of free and appropriate public education. So we as a district are obligated to provide that free and appropriate public education to our students with disabilities free of charge. Next is the state performance indicators, and you can go ahead with the next slide. There are actually 17 indicators, but we are monitored on these 8 here that I listed. I'm going to kind of go into detail with them. Indicator 4 is discipline, and it talks about the rate of suspensions and expulsions for students with IEPs. So we as a district are obligated to kind of watch and see, making sure that we're looking at those positive behavior interventions and other avenues before we look to out-of-school suspensions and expulsions for students with IEPs. And another note is, regardless if a student is expelled from a district, if they have an IEP, we're obligated to provide them services. Indicator 7 is an early childhood outcome indicator. And when a student enters early childhood, and that's our pre-K program, that's 3 to 5, they are measured on 3 different outcomes. And they have let's say a measurement on when they enter, and then every year, and then when they exit. And the state gets those outcomes, and we are audited by them. Indicator 8 is a parent survey, and that is something that we aren't involved in every year. I think it's 1 in every 6 years that we are involved in that, and that actually gets how involved our parents in our special education process, eligibility, and IEPs. Indicator 9 and 10 is to proportionality. And it looks to see how we are identifying students on race, ethnicities, and minorities in the identification of students with IEPs and certain eligibilities. Indicator 12 is, Indicator 11 is evaluation timeline, and that specifically talks to the initial evaluation. So the moment a student gets consent from a parent, we have 60 school days to meet and determine their eligibility, and we are obligated by state to get that date in, and we have to make sure we meet that timeline. Indicator 12 is early childhood transition. So So those are students who by the time they turn 3, we have identified them and have a placement for them by the time they turn 3. Indicator 13 is secondary transition. That's percentage of students with IEPs that are 14 and a half that we have good post-secondary goals and services. So those are services and goals that we have for them that lead them to a successful programming after they graduate or age out of 21, so once they turn 22. Indicator 14 is post-school outcomes, and that has to deal with students, again, this is not one that we do every year, but this is data on students that after they graduate, what they are doing after graduation. Maybe it be vocational, maybe it be a trade, maybe it's working. You literally call those students, you try to reach those students with IEPs that graduate high school and see where they're doing. So the next slide, as you can see, I kind of took the data, and this is from 1819, it's on the State Award website. And of all those indicators, we met them except for indicator 7, so that's early childhood indicator. Those are those outcome ratings. So when the student enters early childhood to exit, we were measured on 3 different outcomes. We did not meet that on indicator 7. Everything else we met, or indicator 8 and 14 were those ones that we did not get data for because we weren't, it was the parent involvement because we weren't that year to get that data. And 14, again, it wasn't the year for us to collect that data. Here's a personnel snapshot. It kind of talks about what we have district-wide for certified staff. I could go through each of the numbers, but you can see here, we have 1 vision itinerant, 1 hearing itinerant, school psychologists, we have 3 in the district, social workers 4, special ed teachers 36 when we're fully staffed, speech pathologists 8 when we're fully staffed. Right now we're working with 7 with not going over caseload numbers. And then we have, as you can see, working with 2 contract and utilizing the therapist. And then the support staff, the occupational therapists, we have 2 occupational therapy assistants, 4 PTs 1, PT assistant 1, administrative assistant 1, and paras we have 66 right now.
Could I ask you a quick question? Okay, so
Sure.
for speech pathologists,
Mm-hmm.
you say, okay, we have 4, that means they're our employees, correct?
Correct.
Okay, then 1 on contract, that
Mhm.
means it's like an
2
outside.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, and then the virtual therapist.
Yep.
Okay, good. So that's a total of 7.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think last year we had 8, so right
Yeah.
now we're working on, and we're fully, like, that's as much as we can get, and we're. Let's see here, so now we're talking special ed numbers. I broke this down this year on kind of where you can see grade levels, so K through 8, we have 343, 9 through 12, 146. I also broke it down so you can see those early childhood outcomes, pre-K and bring in, we have 53. And we're always working on eligibility and dismissals. Next, I know 504 is a different area than IDEA or special education, but I did put those numbers in there for you. So you can see the number of 504 plans. I broke it down for pre-K through 5, intermediate school, middle school, and then the high school, and then a total of 317. And then lastly, talking about the continuing work, continued stakeholder engagement, internal and external, and I did want to point out that I did do one positive, a community meeting, and it was a great experience. I enjoyed it. I know that they did it in the past, and I think it was a positive experience for both sides, and I would like to see that continue. In regards to the adaptation and healthy evolution of programs, always changing. I think one of those speaks to the virtual therapy, speech therapy, depending on how things go and the resources change. And then lastly, the professional development, always ever changing. And that's it. Questions?
Okay, what did, the community meeting, was that basically, well, my first question was it well attended?
It was not compared to the numbers that I had an email blast for all those who are currently identified as special education, and not, the numbers compared to the email blast was not, but I did have a good representation, I feel.
Well, it was attended by parents, correct?
Correct.
And so would you say that there were 100 parents there?
No.
50?
No.
Okay. 20?
Yes.
Okay, so, I guess that needs to be continued so that so the parents know that there are other venues to speak to, district personnel about their concerns. So, just have to keep going maybe, and.
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Section 5, consent agenda items. Does anyone wish to pull any of these? Need a motion to approve consent agenda items 5.1 through 5.11.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Ashley?
Bryant,
Yes.
Worley. Yes. Barry,
Yes.
Maddox,
Yes.
Rewrite,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
and Brewer.
Yes. Section 6, personnel consent items. Does anyone wish to pull any of these items?
Hey Bill, we got one of our coaches we're hiring tonight. Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah, sure, Dusty.
Okay. 'Cause I think there's only one here on our list, but Casey Erickson is here tonight, and Casey is going to be taking over for Coach Mooney as our head baseball coach after this season. And we had very tremendous candidates, and Casey rose to the top through his experiences with our program already and his experiences coaching in college and his playing experiences. And I think he's gonna be a tremendous coach for us, and we're just very excited to have him.
Thank you. Casey, you have it. Need a motion to approve 6.1 through 6.25, please.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Ashley?
Maddox,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Rewrite,
Yes.
Worley. Yes. Phipps,
Yes.
Bryant,
Yes.
and Brewer.
Yes. Section 7, new business. We are looking at an asbestos abatement. Mike?
Yes, sir. Good evening, all.
Hi.
So in relation to the steam lab construction over at Glenwood Middle School, we had some inspections done of the area that will be affected. A hazmat vendor came through and did some inspections. Found some areas of floor tile that do have asbestos floor tile. Most of it has carpet over the top of it right now. So in order to remove that carpet, which we want to replace, it's very likely that the tile would come up too. So we went out and got bids to remove that tile and the carpeting. Had 5 people show up at the pre-bid meeting, 4 people showed up at the bid, as a bid opening. So the recommendation is to award the contract to Midwest Service Group for a total of $79,250. Now, keep in mind, that's just the asbestos removal. There is an oversight portion of this as well, and that's about $15,000 for a hazmat guy to oversee, which is by law, he has to oversee and do air samples and all that stuff. So that's about $15,000 in addition to the $79,200.
Even with the addition of that 15, this is still a little bit out of the
Yes,
four, right?
It is, it is. The $15,000 would be $15,000 regardless of what it was, yes.
Any further discussion on 7.1? Need a motion to approve 7.1.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Ashley?
Worley. Yes. Barry,
Yes.
Bryant,
Yes.
Maddox,
Yes.
Rewrite,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
and Brewer.
Yes. 7.2, Mike, you're up again.
Yes, sir. So this is for the chiller replacement at the high school. This is one portion. There's 3 portions to the chiller, 3 different chiller sections. So this is a bid to replace just one section. We've been fighting with that system for quite a few years, and we've actually trimmed it down to where we can actually replace one section at a time. Hopefully, maybe we can take a bigger bite next time, maybe get the other 2 sections, but without this, if on a 95 or 100 degree day, we will not be able to pull it high. So we need to replace this chiller. So the low bid is instant rock at $286,000. So just to clarify the numbers, what we asked them to do was give us a number on a Carrier brand chiller, a Train brand chiller, and a Daikin brand chiller. So Hanson Robinson came in low bid with the carrier branch road, which is sufficient for what we need. And nobody came in with a bid on train because they're likely gonna be pretty high. And then, the bid for the dike was higher by both companies. Now, Pruitt gave us the same number on both chillers. For whatever reason, the vendor just worked with them differently than they did Hanson Robinson. It happens all the time. So for that reason, the recommendation is to bring Henson Robinson in to replace the West Shore pipe.
Mike, what's the life expectancy on those?
25, 30 years on this particular, on these more energy efficient units.
And the one we're on now, how long has it been around?
It's been here for 21 years.
What's the warranty on it?
It's a 5-year compressor warranty, 1-year parts and labor on the chiller, and a 5-year compressor warranty. Which is, that's standard industry wide.
Right. Any other questions or discussion points for 7.2 chiller replacement? Need a motion to approve? Second, please.
Second.
Ashley?
Phipps,
Yes.
Bryant,
Yes.
Joyrush,
Yes.
Worley. Yes. Maddox.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Brewer.
Yes. 7.3 is a first reading on some policies from press.
Bill, I'd like to move to table the first reading on these policies because the policy committee is yet to evaluate them. So again, we'll do that and put them up at the next appropriate meeting.
Need a second on the motion to table.
Second.
Ashley?
Joyrush,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Maddox.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Bryant.
Yes.
Worley. Yes. Brewer.
Yes, motion to table passes. Section 8, communications. 8.1, future board meeting dates. I don't think there's been any real changes there for anyone, but please double check calendars. Eight two, citizens' opportunity to address the school board concerning any topic. I would ask that you please come to the podium, state your name, and keep it to 5 minutes, please.
At this point, introductions are probably redundant. My name is Lisa Manini, just for the record. Another night spent away from my son, fighting for him and the rest of the kids in special education. A year ago, I considered running for one of your positions. I have a packet. I didn't want to be in the position that I'm in, fighting again. But at the time, I had a great relationship with my son's team, the education team. I didn't want to compromise that by changing the relationship as a board member. Now I'm definitely regretting that. As elected officials, the residents of Chatham, myself, and the other residents here today with children in a special ed program here, trust you as elected officials that you will uphold the mission, the visions and goals that are on the website. That's from the Ball-Chatham website that I passed out to you. And so I ask for your attention to that document. Starting with the achievements, I don't feel like any of these goals have been upheld in the school system. The delivery of the curriculum has not been spread to our kiddos. We talked about that when IT gave the annual report. Ms. Director's ISBE report tonight clearly showed there's no follow-up data on evaluation of the programs. What are these kids doing after school? Parents aren't surveyed. We don't know how are these things monitored. There's no data. In number 3, given the fact that I had to remove individuals from my son's care team, I know there are 2 other special ed moms that have removed the same individual from their son's care team this year for lying, changing IEP documents, falsifying data, and obviously, given the plagiarized presentation that was provided tonight from last year's presentation, I don't know if you realized that or not. Thank you. From the report from last year, we failed to ensure that staff and administration are qualified and competent. I know this is the 3rd time I've stood up here now, and we've made it clear that the district has an ability to attract and retain staff. We've been through 3 different special ed teachers in the past 2.5 years in the structured room at Chatham Elementary. Now my son spends the majority of his day receiving instruction from a non-certified person, non-certified teacher. Now, the certified instructor, Ms. Meisner, in that room, we made clear the last time we were here, absolutely 100% excellence. But there are now over, I believe 12 now, kids in that room. And there's only one of them. He spends less than 30 minutes a day with an actual certified teacher because we can't attract, retain, and supervise a teacher for the special ed room. They're quick to add children to that classroom because that's what those children need, the structured rooms. But they won't, you're not supporting the staff in the room so that the kids have what they need. Less than 30 minutes with the teacher a day is not sufficient for these kids that need the most help. And in fact, there's a highly qualified individual living in this district. Her children go to this school. She'd love no more than to work in this district. But told me, I quote, "Everyone knows you don't apply to the Chatham schools." That's heartbreaking. As elected officials, we would hope that you would look at this as an opportunity to be committed to the kids, to provide them with what they need by supporting the staff. I ask you to please step back. Rethink these visions and goals. Are we meeting them? Is it about money? I don't know what the thought processes are from the board, because unfortunately I made the decision not to try and put myself in those shoes. Do you feel like you're meeting to the best of your ability, 100% for all students? Because that's what those visions and goals reads. All students. We need a commitment to all students. And I feel like every time we get up here, I can talk and there's no listening. I challenge each of you to spend an hour, half an hour, in Mary's room. See what these individuals do for the kids. Remind yourself when you're there, they're still only there without contracts because they love the kids. And they continue to do that without livable wages because they love the kids. And you all know they won't leave the kids. They're making less than the teenagers at McDonald's down the street. Shame on those for taking advantage of these kind hearts because you know they're not going to quit the kids. The lack of leadership coming from the board down has broken the special ed system and made it so that these special ed moms and I have to spend nights away from our kids. You say, come to the public meetings that Ms. Kuykendall has. Great. She's had, the email went out less than a week before the meeting. And not all these special ed moms got that.
We didn't get
got that email.
No, we did not receive any email.
So don't let her fool you. Because she lies. And the public is not being involved.
I appreciate the
Okay.
conversation. I'm going to just respectfully ask just for some decorum as far as let's not do the personal back and forth. I'll extend your time, that's certainly fine, but I just don't want to get in a situation where.
That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Okay.
I understand. We didn't get the email. So I would welcome where we could have more interaction, is where I'm going with that. Every year for the past 4 years, we fought. There are more kids than just mine. I just have the loudest mouth. I'm the one who will get up and put myself out there because I care. And I care about all the kids, not just mine.
Hi, my name is Becky Moore. I have 3 children in the school district. 2 are actually in special ed. 1 is in honors, playing soccer, doing all the normalcy things in life. I just want to share my perspective. And I am sorry for parents who've had difficult situations. I have difficult situations every day with my kids, especially my oldest son, you know. So I understand that. And I understand what it's like to have to fight for your kids for things that they need. I just have to say, especially when you have a child with special needs, you're your child's best advocate as a parent, and quite honestly, sometimes you're their only advocate. But I have to say, my son has been attending Ball-Chatham School District since 4-year-old pre-K at Ball Elementary, and he's gotten exceptional care and an education and services all the way through. I literally can count on one hand how many disappointments I've had, and he's gonna be 20 this year, okay? He's at the high school. So I commend the teachers, they're unbelievable. I know Mary to be that as well. I know her professionally and personally. I know the aides are incredible, they're amazing. Every once in a while, it's like I tell my son, life's like living in a rose bush. You're gonna be living and working and in education around, roses and good people, and then sometimes you're gonna get a couple thorns, and that's what we see sometimes. But I do recognize that the service industry has a very difficult time obtaining people in these positions. Why? Because it's a difficult position. our kids aren't easy to deal with, they have special needs. And so those are often complicated. If our child has one diagnosis, they often have 10 more that follow. So our kids aren't, there's no easy fix, there's no easy situation with our kids. I will say that I would love to see, if it's possible, some sort of parent togetherness group, even if it's just a couple times a year. I pulled that together with a friend of mine years ago, and it was a good experience. And we worked a lot actually with Jen Farnsworth, and it was a wonderful experience. We pulled in representatives of people within the community, different services, UCP, Special Olympics, Social Security, all these issues and different topics that were very educational to parents. And you would think that after a while, like when you get to the high school level, that you would have basic knowledge of all these things, but that's not always true for a lot of parents, because they're in that day-to-day crunch, right? So I would love to see something like that happen. Maggie, I would love to work with you anytime and support you in your work here, because I think you have a very difficult position, right? And that's not easy. And you're not gonna make everybody happy, okay? But I think you're doing the best that you can. So you keep doing the best that you can, and I think that's awesome. But I would like to offer my volunteer services to you personally, to the board, to the school district, to other parents in this room who would like to maybe make a difference. If we want to do something like that again, we could do something like that again in collaboration with Jen, I'm sure. It was always a good way to understand not only what was available in the community, but what was available within the school district. Because sometimes we don't know what all the resources within our school district can be for our children. And it's nice just to have somebody to talk it through and hash it over with. So if you are interested in that, please let me know. And I think keep doing the good work you're doing, and we appreciate you.
Hi, my name is Pat Scott, and I'm a grandparent of a child with special needs. I'm also retired from the Chatham School District. I was here about 23 years and spent my entire career working with families and children at risk. So I feel like, and I also have a daughter who is 24 years old, who came through the Chatham school system, adopted with an IEP with significant needs. She has fetal alcohol event. I'm not really sure what to say tonight. There's a couple things that I need to say. It's been a very difficult journey the last 2 years for my granddaughter who came to live with me. I have 3 grandchildren, 10 and under, due to different circumstances in their life that they're with me. The delivery of services, from the services that my daughter got quite a while ago to now, it's appalling. I understand how the system works. I've sat across the table as a parent, and I've also sat across the table as an employee of the school district. So I'm not naive as to the language, to the delivery of services. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because I don't think that that's necessarily important, because the people who are here understand. The things I want to touch on are things such as this: professionalism, delivery of services, adherence to the IEP, agreements and meetings and then things not being followed through with, change of placements for a 7-year-old girl with an IEP and significant needs, a lack of understanding. And listening to the other parents, I think that sometimes board members, administrators, teachers and such, we often forget that the people who know the children the most are the parents. When the parents have sought outside help, when they've gotten diagnosis, when they've gotten reports, and they submit those to the school district by professionals outside trying to get their child or grandchild all the help to help them succeed, to be the best they can do in a good school district. And they trust the people around the tables. And they put it all out there. Help my child. What can you do for my child? It's a difficult path to walk for anyone. Because the special needs don't end when you send your child to school. The issues don't stop them. You're still dealing with that at home, and you're entrusting your child to the care of the school district. But as parents and grandchildren, we know our children pretty well. I'm here tonight to say that this is a systemic problem. It's not just in one school. It's throughout the district. And I ask you as board members to listen to the parents, to provide the support to the teachers, to the paraprofessionals who have a very difficult job, and realize that we are entrusting our children and grandchildren to the care of the school system. We want them to succeed. We don't want to have to stand before a board and air all of this. We don't want that. We want to sit around the table and work as a team. We don't want it to be adversarial in any sense of the word, because at the end of the day, we are going to be taking care of the special needs child. So I'm just asking you to please listen to the people that are coming before you and know that we want to work as a team, but there's certain barriers that have been put in our way, at least in mine, quite a few steps of the way over the last 2 years. So I'm in a different place now, or my grandchild is. I'm grateful for the people who are coming together, and that the care that she's giving, that the understanding, that I really appreciate that. It's been, like I said, it's been a little while getting there, but I think that we're moving in the right direction. Maybe not everyone is in the, in the place that I am. And I'm grateful for the people who keep coming to the table and keep, saying, we're gonna make this work. We care about her. We're gonna offer her services. And I do appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. I am Mary Farnsworth. Not my first time here, by the way. But tonight, just like everything with special ed, as you can hear, my son's with me. Everybody was just praying he stayed quiet when he was speaking. And having a special needs child is difficult. It's a lifelong commitment. And there's no real easy or set path for any of us. And I don't like to think of my life as more or less hard. It just is what it is. And as a parent, I have to do what I have to do. As trusted board members, you have to do what you have to do, but you have a letter of the law that you have to adhere to. The multiple times that I have been in this position and been in a less confrontational position with direct administrators, I have had to fight, but I've also had the glory of coming out on the other end, working well with the board members and with administrators in this district. I love and adore my son's staff all the way through school. His teachers, his paraprofessionals, kudos to them. They're walking a walk that I don't believe any of you have ever walked. Are any of you ex-education, been in a classroom, taught in a room, been an aide in a room? It is a difficult job. I'm not saying what you do as professionals is not also difficult, but it takes a special kind of person to come in to a general education class, much less a special needs or profoundly special needs class, and do that every day, to give that every day. And to be doing that on limited resources, limited support, which definitely starts at the top up. I'm not a fool. I know there's limited resources and capital out there, but when we have to come here as parents and when the teachers have to come here as their unions to fight for a livable wage and to fight for curriculum and to fight for resources and supports, that's shameful. Again, the administration I've worked with in this district in the lower rung, the teachers and the aides, I would stand and applaud them all day long, because in the end, even if we didn't initially agree, we came to a balance. We came to an area where I could advocate and they could perform their duties that were in adherence to the law, both state and federal, because they differ at times, and also were to the appropriateness of my child. So what I would urge you as board members to think of when you're thinking of our individual students, not just special ed, population, gen ed, every child that walks through a door and expecting an education, this board must, by all means, support those on the front lines, those who are not only working with the students, but are working with us families, the ones who actually have to show up every day and do the dirty work. And tell them, I'm sorry, we can't do this for you unless you fight for it, because we're not being allocated the resources for this. I'm a special education teacher, been for multiple years. I have a master's in special education. I'm a state certified special needs advocate. And I was asked by a couple different people in this district, Mary, we're desperate for teachers, come apply and chat. I said, no way, no thank you. And it's not because of the peers that I'd be working with. It's not because of the direct administrators in the building I'd be working with. It's because taking a 7-mile cut off of my commute would leave me 13 grand in the hole, pay-wise, to come here. It's ridiculous that these staff people are treated with these types of pay situations, and it is even more ridiculous that our students have to suffer because money is being allocated to things that could probably wait or not be as directly beneficial, such as curriculum, such as community outreach programs for the older kids in special needs and in self-contained classrooms. My son, I had to fight this year to get busing situations corrected for him to commute to his work-study program. They have to, and it's not necessarily all on the district administration, but a majority of it was. Luckily, with teamwork and with cooperation, we were able to come to a resolution, but I still had to come to a fight first. I still had to come, and I always come, and you can ask other administrators at this table, I come with 3 solutions for every problem I have, because I also sit on both sides of that table. I do it every day. I had IEPs yesterday, I got IEPs tomorrow. And I can walk the walk on both sides, and I can talk the talk on both sides, because I've had to fight it, and I've had to fight for my own students in my own classroom, and I'm continually fighting for my son. But that's my job both ways. And that's what I have to do. I am very grateful when my son has staff that I look forward to sending him to school, and because I know I'm going to get good communication from him because I've trained them. I'm going to have a curriculum that's in place for him because I'm working to even develop a newer one with the district administration for more life skill study programs at the high school. It's not guaranteed yet, but at least the doors of communication are open on those lower levels. But the end all, where paychecks are concerned and allocation for funds are concerned to curriculum and development and support services, that's on your shoulders, and that's where the buck needs to stop. And that is really the finite issue for getting more teachers here and keeping more teachers. You're getting more aides here and keeping more aides here and developing the curriculum that these students need. Thank you.
I'm gonna make this short and sweet. My name's Lisa Edmondson, and I am gonna make this short and sweet. My oldest son graduated last year from the school. He had an IEP. He was in special ed classes, DRAC classes. He's in his first year at Lincoln Land. He works at Kohl's. He makes just as much as what half of these support staff make. It's kind of sad, actually.
a little sad that my son, that's in his first year of college, that had an IEP, not to say that he's any less of a person, but is making just as much as these people teaching our kids is making. I'm gonna be really short too. I hate speaking in front of people. But I just kind of want to put out there that every day, week, month that goes by that you guys don't change this program, our kids are falling behind. Our kids struggle at home from falling behind at school. You know, every day that they're saying that they're getting things that they're not, therapy, speech therapy, you know, I've been lied to the past 2 years by teachers in this district, and I've not tried to hold principals and other people accountable, but something has got to be done about this program. You know, our kids need just the same amount of attention as athletes in the school district, maybe even more. And it's sad. It's so sad that Mary and her team, who have helped our children through so much, make as much as fast food employees. It's absolutely disgusting. And I can't even believe it. Because those teachers, the special ed teachers, they work just as hard, if not harder, than regular teachers. You know, I mean, do you want to lose the good teachers you have? Because you don't have very many. And that's what's going to happen. I mean, we have fought to stay in this district because of the program. And this year has been an absolute disaster. My son was approved for a speaking device in 2018, and he still hasn't received it. He has a loaner now, but he still has not received a device. You know, there's only like so much as parents that we can do, and we entrust these teachers to keep our kids safe, to be doing speech therapy when they say they're doing speech therapy, and that's not happening. And when your child is nonverbal and they don't get 20 minutes 3 times a week of speech therapy, they need that 20 minutes. They need that 20 minutes to be speech therapy. There's just so many things this year, and I know that it's been going on with other families as well, but it's shameful. It's absolutely shameful for Chatham School District to be okay with this special education program the way it is right now. And you guys should be much more supportive of Mary and other people that are keeping this program alive. I mean, I don't know if you guys have special needs children, but it's hard for us to trust people. You know, my son doesn't talk at all, so I have to trust when I send him to school here every day, he's gonna be safe and cared for. And I felt that since kindergarten, I've always felt that, but the last 2 years has been questionable. We've had teachers in and out, we can't trust anything that's being told to us, and it's hard. And it's like, we don't want to look elsewhere, we have other kids in the school district that thrive, and we don't wanna have to move, but we have to do what's best for our son, because we're his only advocate. And I think all we're asking is that you guys like really take in what everybody is telling you tonight, because it's from the bottom of our hearts, and it's important for our children to thrive and further themselves. So I just hope that you guys all take this in and take it seriously, because it's very important to all of us.
Ma'am, can I have your name?
Megan Hyan.
Would anyone else like to address the board? I thought I heard her.
Yeah,
Is that-
I will. I'm Peggy Speaks, in case you don't know me. I work at the middle school. I've been there 16 and a half years. I worked the first 6 years under SAS Ed, but always at Glenwood Middle School. And then got hired on with Ball-Chatham back in '09, '10 when we switched over. The teachers at that point got to keep their seniority and got to keep their salaries, but I lost my seniority at that point.
and I lost some salary at that point. I'm a very fun person. I want you to raise your hand if you've ever worked with me, have a kid, right? I'm serious, okay? Yeah. I am the Walmart greeter of the middle school, okay? I make relationships with these students like you wouldn't believe. I work in a classroom where we had Miss Cav take over a class where a teacher has left, and she's doing an awesome job. She's actually running 2 classrooms right now, lesson plans for 2 classrooms. And that's because she cares about the kids as much as I do. We are on the front lines every day. We support the kids. We are emotional support. You know, we go get them lunch, we, you know, bring in treats for them on their birthday. I sing to them every day. That's probably not so good. They don't like it so much when they're middle school age. But I make them like me. And I know you don't know me, and so you can't make a judgment call. But I'm telling you, I come to work every day trying to make a difference in those kids' lives. And that I make the salary that I make after 16 and a half years working for the district is terrible. The salary that I bring home is terrible. It's under $15,000 a year, okay? For 16 plus years. And I really think that some of our, district employees, some of their raises, I think, are close or more than what I bring home in a year. And I really think that it's okay to reward people at the top, but you can't forget us bottom feeders, our people that are at the front lines every day, doing what we should be doing, caring for these kids, supporting them, making a difference. I just can't say enough about them. And I love the kids. They call me Mama Speaks. And they know, you don't want to make Mama Speaks mad, and they laugh about that. And we have really good relationships with them. And so I just want you to remember that there's tons of us out here that are doing it because we love it, but it really stinks because we really feel like we're unappreciated because of the low salary. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
Anyone else wish to address the board?
Okay. Real quick. Okay. One thing I see with the parents and all of us is the stability for the kids with special needs is so important.
So important.
That is the most important thing. And because of salaries, the stability is totally out of whack, because they don't have the same people, for, 6 months, or, a teacher often quits, or aide leaves, or the speech therapist, we've had wonderful speech therapists, well, she left because she got paid more. Salary doesn't mean everything, but to keep passionate, qualified staff, you have to pay them. And it's coming to that point where everybody's just going to District 186. And so just think about that.
Thanks, babe, that's good.
Anyone else? Need a motion to adjourn. Second, please.
Second.